Are you still there? Oh my God. You can see why people didn't know what to make of this song. They thought he'd lost his mind. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Clarion Call Reactions and Opinions. The gentleman on your screen you probably recognize as the famous Captain Beefheart, but I've been listening to his music lately, and I realized I've done most of my reactions to his famous masterpiece, Trout Mask Replica, but I haven't done anything from his first album, Safe as Milk. Now, his first album is much more conventional rock and roll before he got very experimental and deconstructed rock and roll. But there was one song that was kind of a hint of things to come on that first album, and that was the song Electricity. It was so different from the rest of the album that it caused his record company to drop him. They couldn't deal with how weird the song was. It also created a lot of controversy even within his own band. But Don had a vision. Don knew where he wanted to go. I want to play this from the first album. Now, this particular mix is not actually the album mix, it's a remix. There's a few things different about it, but I like it because it has a lot of live footage of the actual Magic Band performing all kinds of different songs. They're not performing exclusively Electricity. It gives you a feel for how dynamic that band really was as a live band. You know, I never got to see the Captain live, which is one of the great tragedies of my life, I think, because I've been a huge fan for over 50 years now, but I just never happened to be in the right place at the right time to see him. I would have gone gladly if he was anywhere near me, but I never was anywhere near a Captain Beefheart concert, so I missed out on that. And this is strange, so for those of you who are not, Beefheart aficionados, you may struggle with this one too. I mean, you can hear that band is so tight. The drumming, the bass playing, the guitar playing, and of course, the singing from the Captain is unearthly. He went to school on Howlin' Wolf and the great blues singers, and he has that low growl. But he also studied, I think, Dada poetry or something, because his lyrics are just so different from anything you heard before. You're probably hearing in the background that theremin, that high-pitched squealing noise, which is perfect for this song about electricity because it kind of sounds like an electric current going in and out of control. It's actually a little bit lower in the mix, I noticed, than it is on the original, so it's a little bit hard to hear unless you're putting earphones on, because in the earphones I can hear it very plainly in my left ear, but when I played it through the computer speakers, it was a little harder to pick up. Are you still there? Oh my God. You can see why people didn't know what to make of this song. They thought he'd lost his mind. fellow that created this remix has kind of taken some poetic license. There's no horns in here. He actually put some Beatles vocals and some Frank Zappa sounds into this mix, which I don't even know where they are because there's so much going on here. And I don't know who this fellow is that's singing, but obviously he's not part of the regular band. But it doesn't matter. You get the idea. This was an extremely exciting, tight, rocking band. I mean, and it's all about the Captain creating these noises, these sounds, this music, this rhythm. If there's a genius in the 20th century music world, it's Captain Beefheart. I'll stand by that to the day I die. And there you have a collage of a number of the Captain's album covers, most famously the Trout Mask Replica there with holding the hand up. I believe that Don in the tuxedo there is from Lick My Decals Off. Strictly Personal, I see. I don't remember the name of the one with the giraffe. Don had about 8 albums maybe in a career that went from this first album, Safe as Milk, around 1965 or 6, all the way up into the early 80s. He never attained any commercial success at all. One of the problems was that while performing this particular song at the Mount Tamalpais Music Festival, about 2 weeks before the Monterey Famous Music Festival in 1967, Don fell off the stage about 10 feet down and injured himself. Some say he may have been imbibing some hallucinogenics at the time. When Ry Cooder, who was in the band, saw that happen and they lost their chance to play at Monterey, he was so angry he quit the band. Don was not an easy guy to get along with, but that's because he was a total freaking genius. You know, he knew what he wanted to do, and it was so different from anything that anyone else had done before. But he was steadfast in going for that sound, no matter what other people might have thought of it. And to this day, other people have lots of thoughts that are not always positive about the Captain's music, but I've been a fan ever since this Trout Mask was introduced to me around 1970. I get the Captain extremely well. A lot of people, they hear the noise, they hear the, different players playing at different beats, and all they hear is a cacophony. They don't hear the genius of it. I do have another video that I did a few years ago called Beefheart 101, where I attempt to explain exactly what the Captain is doing. And so I'll put a link to that in the description if you're new to the Captain. This may be a little more accessible, but check out the other songs on Safe as Milk because they're all great. There's not a bad song in there, but a lot of them are a lot more easy to understand than this one and what followed with Trout Mask Replica and beyond. Start with Safe as Milk if you're struggling with the Captain, because there's no doubt he was an extremely competent rock and roll blues musician before he started to experiment, because you couldn't do what he did without having the background of being a very, very competent bluesman and rock and roller. I hope this helps clarify a little bit about Captain's progress, how he got where he was and where it all started with a song like this.